be so big that in the human mind, it seems like we cannot do it. It's just too big, it's too insurmountable. The odds are so great against us. There's absolutely no chance that we could win on this, that people then can easily ignore it. And the climate issue and crisis is one of those things. It's one of those things that we have made to be so huge, and you need so many degrees and you need so many levels of understanding that it's not even worth it. And I push against that because I think those are just the exact type of places that people of faith show up and show out, because that's the type of energy that we have when it comes to saying, no, 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 but we have something that we can rely on that goes against the odds, that puts the super on top of the natural, that says, no, we can figure it out. No, we can have a little bit of faith and we can keep on going one more day. This is the type of space and action that's needed right now. And it's an ability to bring people together to find solution, stop problems from continuing to happen simply by talking in the language that we talk to each other every day.
Yeah. So one of those chapters around talking people that really also touched my heart was, too hot to learn, too cold to care. And you talk about the huge inequities in educational infrastructure, in actual school buildings, right? Who has air conditioning? Who doesn't? Who has mold? Who doesn't? And how that relates to racial justice, educational justice, climate justice, the intersection of all of these pieces. And that is a really important intersection for us at United Women in Faith as well, because these are our two core campaigns, right? Interrupting the school to prison pipeline and just energy for all. So can you talk more about that intersection, educational justice, climate justice, racial justice?
Absolutely, because it's critical that we understand the impacts on education, and that we don't exclude environmental issues and toxic chemical issues, the role that they play in the education of our children. And there are numerous studies on this, but one that I found particularly interesting was looking at the impacts of heat on test scores. So, children who were in environments of extreme heat, or let's just say climate impacted environments, or sitting in a hot classroom trying to take a standardized test, performed poorly, whereas students who were in a more controlled environment performed much better. Well, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to know that the children who are in classrooms that don't have good ventilation, that don't have good infrastructure, and are impacted by climate changes are doing worse. And those scores are showing up worse. So regardless the amount of resources and really pouring in of resources, if we're not addressing the problem or including the issues around climate change and environmental infrastructure, then we are missing part of what happens with these young people. And to make sure that they are fairly and equally allotted the same things that children from other parts of our country are allotted, is the reason why when you look at a school board or a park commission or tree commission, I say all the time, don't just limit your engagement to one particular area. We don't want to have a space where the environmentalists are only on the park commission. The environmentalists are only on the tree board for a community. No, the environmentalists need to be on the school board. They need to be in transportation. They need to be in infrastructure. They need to be in planning, because these are the places that also make decisions on what kind of infrastructure and what kinds of building will happen with kids to make sure that they have free access. I remember when I was coming up, and this is one of the things I wrote about in the book, was, even in Mississippi, in the starting at the local city council, land use. These are ways that you can actually go in at a very local level and say, we have a problem here. Understanding what is first in the land. So if it is toxic, there is a polluting company. Air monitoring is very important. Being connected to understand what the state is monitoring, what they're not monitoring, and whether or not it's being enforced. That's something everybody on this call can do. You can find out what's happening in your local community and what your local state environmental agency is monitoring. I will say too that that's something that's under attack right now. So it's very important that we do all that we can to acknowledge the importance of having air monitoring so that we know what is being polluted in and around communities. But also, don't forget the local people. Go to those city council members, to those county councils, to see who is permitting the companies to be on the land, who is getting the tax abatement money from the local community that is going to pay for the plant expansion. Because if a plant is not only existing and polluting in a local community and not being held accountable, they're going to keep doing it over and over and over again. So there's got to be some, awareness of what's happening, but also accountability for the local officials who, again, pass a tax abatement opportunities that someone who is living in a space that is currently polluted, you can push back. You can hold them accountable through your local officials. And then the next piece, there